We need to talk about the truth between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. Now, when the news came out for this fight, everyone was obviously super excited as these two guys have big names in boxing. And when two big names face off against each other, everyone in boxing is getting hyped for it, as this is something that we don't really get often anymore. And especially two guys like this, as these are two guys that a lot of people wanted to face off for a long time. And now both guys stepped up to the plate to make this fight happen. So that means that this should be a great fight, right? Well, there's actually a lot of things that can go wrong with this matchup. Now, firstly, they had the press conference today, which was probably the worst press conference I've ever seen, as it was just really cringy and really awkward for most of the time. Now, Shakur Stevenson is not really a guy that makes viral moments from his press conferences. And on the other hand, we have Teofimo Lopez, who is just pretty cringy. So it pretty much just made for a really bad showing, and it doesn't really get a lot of people behind this fight watching something like that. And I mean, if you just go on Twitter or online, everyone was saying the same thing. Even YouTube, the YouTube comments were all just saying and bashing it, how it was boring and cringy and awkward. And it's true, it really wasn't good, which does suck for a fight like this, because like this is a fight that we don't really get, two big names going at each other, putting their records on the line and things like that, which does suck that this fight probably isn't going to get the hype that it deserves, which that goes into the next part. Now obviously both these guys are big names and have a big following, but both these guys have something in common with some of their performances. Now the thing is, when this fight does come around, I'm sure everyone is going to be watching it, as I don't think getting eyes on this fight is going to be a problem. Now I think the problem is within the fight itself, as both these guys are notoriously known for having some bad performances. So this fight is definitely going to be a hit or miss. As firstly, if we just look at Teofimo Lopez's resume, it's just really weird, as he had that amazing performance where he beat Vasily Lomachenko. Then he had his next fight where he lost to George Kambosos in dramatic fashion, as this is by far the worst thing that ever happened to him, as people still talk about this defeat till today. Now then he got a good TKO win over Pedro Campa. Then in his next fight he won by split decision over Sandor Martin, where he got dropped twice in this fight, and a lot of people really did thought he lost this fight as he had a pretty bad performance. But then in his next fight he faced off against Josh Taylor, who was an undisputed champion, and he dominated him, made him look silly, like it was straight domination. Then his next fight he fights Jermaine Ortiz in a snooze fest, where a lot of people also thought he lost that fight as well, as that fight was just another one that you can pretty much forget about. Then his next two fights are whatever. He faced off against Steve Claggett, where he pretty much shut him out, and then he faced off against Barboza Jr., which was a very good win, as that fight he looked pretty good against Barboza and he was styling on him and whatever, like he should have. And now he's going to be facing off against Shakur Stevenson, someone who's probably the best person he's going to face on this resume, other obviously than Vasily Lomachenko. So you really don't know what you're going to get with Teofimo Lopez. He either fights up to his competition or he fights down to it. Where now on the other hand we have Shakur Stevenson, who is infamously known for being a runner and all these things, a track star or whatever, where he's had performances like against Edwin De Los Santos where he ran around the ring and it was pretty much probably the worst fight I think I've ever witnessed. And a big thing about Shakur Stevenson as well is his resume in his past few fights that a lot of people don't like, as he faced off against Artem Harutyunyan where he beat him in a boring fight as well. Then obviously the fight against Josh Padley, which really wasn't his fault, but a lot of people still give him slack for that fight. But Shakur is coming off a very good performance against William Zepeda, where he won that fight in dominating fashion and made him look silly and showed that he can stay in the pocket. And Shakur Stevenson opened up as the favorite in this fight, which I think makes sense, as I do think he is the favorite in this fight, as we've seen Teofimo Lopez, like I said before, just have stinker of fights, where he's just had some pretty bad performances against guys that he easily should have beaten, where I just think that gives Shakur Stevenson the slight edge in this matchup. But all those points that I was talking about just give me a worry for this fight, like when it actually happens, because this fight has all the makings just to be a snooze fest. But I really hope it doesn't, and I do hope this fight delivers, as both these guys need a fight like that, and boxing needs a fight like this, where two big names can just face off against each other and put on a good performance. So hopefully we can see more fights just like this one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this fight, and what do you guys think about that press conference?